Father Reddington, Rabbi Brill, Sri Mani Mama, and Meeraji. One more chair. Three questions. Meanwhile, we won't pass on the mic. In the interest of time, we'll make sure questions are written on the cards that have been shared. So we will not pass on the summarize the event. Swamiji will give his Ashirvachana and then we'll go for Tirtha Prasad.
Thank you. My question is this. I believe the word mithya is grossly misunderstood. The way I understand mithya to be is there is a greater underlying reality. Like if I take a pot, the potness is mithya, but the clay is real. In the same vein, Acharya Madhva has talked about Swatantram, Aswatantram cha Dvidham Tattvavishyate. So, I believe Dvaita and Advaita are talking about the same thing from two different points of view. The language is different, but the ultimate idea is the same. I would like the panel to discuss this topic.
Swamiji is not going to give you a summary.
The summary will be after the question.
So he is not going to answer this question.
After the question answer.
Okay. They are underlying the same thing, but as you said, the language is different. But there is a fundamental thought difference also is there. One is addressing from the practical reality, Vyavaharika Satyam, another is the Paramarthika Satyam. Mithya is not unreal. It is appearing as real. That is mithya. For example, in the world, everything is, I am seeing you, you are seeing me, I feel the pain when somebody pinches, all those things are all real. We cannot say they are unreal, but they appear as real. For example, they are not time invariant. What is defined as real is the one that will have existence in all three domains of time, past, present and future. The moment you entered into the hall, the moment you are going back, you aged by that many minutes. We all aged. Change. They are mithya. Even though they appear real.
Sir, can you write down your question?
With this same thing, Namaskar. Brahma Satyam, can you please elaborate? Because yesterday quite a bit confusion on this. So, Mama, can you?
Yeah, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Vidya, Jivo Brahmaivana Paraha is what the Acharya said, and the scriptures say that. As we said, Satya Vastu is only one, and we define what Satyam is, the one that has existence independently in all three domains of time. Both are important words. It should be independent. It should not have a dependent existence, and it should be existent in all the three domains of time. That is Satyam. That alone is Satya Vastu. Jagat Mithya, the entire Jagat, if you see, it is dependent. It has so many changes. Everything you see day to day, everything you see. So it is Mithya. It is not totally unreal, but it is Mithya. In the Vyavaharika plane, it is real. So as I told, the world is dual. It is all real. But in this Paramarthika plane, it is Mithya. That's why it's not called Asatya, it is called Mithya.
It's hard for us to understand that.
Of course, yes. Advaita cannot be understood just like that. You need to go through, as I told, all the steps you have to go through. You can.
So this question is for Swamiji. Why did Sri Raghavendra Swami enter Vrindavana while alive? Why did he get into the Vrindavana while alive?
The goal of the life is not dying, but the ultimate goal of the life is samadhi. The meaning of samadhi means dhyanam. He entered into the Vrindavana to have the samadhi, that means dhyanam. He wanted to have the nirantara dhyanam of Bhagavan. That is why he, to avoid all kinds of distractions, he entered into the Vrindavan. That is why we consider, actually it is said, Swamijis, sannyasis, they are not dying. Death means going to non-stop dhyana. That is the death. That is why the Vrindavanam is considered as very auspicious place. Otherwise, if any other than sannyasis they die, if you go there, you should take bath to do puja. But if you go to the place of Samadhi Vrindavanam, you need not take bath because you are always pure. Because Swamijis, sannyasis, they are not dying, but their end is constant meditation, samadhi. That is why Vrindavanams are considered as samadhi place. Samadhi means in which meditation you are not having any distractions. The status of samadhi means when you are in that meditation, if someone is beating the drum, you cannot hear. That kind of focusing on God called as samadhi. So Raghavendra Swamiji, he wanted to have that samadhi dhyanam, and that is why he is chosen to be in the Vrindavan. Because for the constant meditation, we should withdraw our attention from various things. That is why olden days, the rishis, they were living in forest, where no horn sound, no other sounds, no distraction. So they can contemplate on God with 100% concentration, they can meditate. So Sri Raghavendra Swamiji, he entered into Vrindavanam to have the non-stop meditation that is called samadhi.
Thank you, Swamiji. Then the next one is for Father Reddington. Could you explain a little bit more on why Christianity considers everyone to be born a sinner? Why is birth defined by sin?
Yes, the teaching by reason of which all are considered to be born in sin is the one that came up a few times yesterday as well, is the teaching, the interpretation of the biblical story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden to involve, because of their disobedience of God, original sin. In other words, if when Adam and Eve sinned by eating the fruit of the tree that was forbidden, they incurred a kind of sin that was especially from the time of Saint Augustine, or Augustine, a very important Christian theologian of the 4th century. From that time and from his interpretation and his widespread notoriety and fame, was considered to be a sin that was passed on to all human persons, not by their having sinned of their own free will, but simply by being born as humans. And the conception that that went together with for the teaching of Saint Augustine is that that stain, to put it in metaphorically, that stain of original sin could be washed away only by the waters of baptism, the initiatory sacrament of Christians. And so that is why the conception of human beings being from birth actually sinful, not by their own action as yet. Plenty of us also join in by doing sins otherwise after we are born. But this original sin is a different thing. And what I also said in the afternoon questions was that that particular teaching of original sin is, as Father Avery Dulles once put it, only semi-jokingly, closed for repairs. That teaching is closed for repairs in the sense that a need is seen for certain weaknesses of that teaching to be overcome, and for the strong points of that teaching to be retained. But at any rate, as it is the official Catholic Church teaching, and many of the other Christian churches' teaching, still stands with that original sin idea.
Thank you, Father. The next one is for Sri GnaanaSamgama. Why should one strive for moksha if Advaitism speaks more about illusion and Maya?
Because we are in Maya. If we want to be ever in Maya, one can be. But if one wants to think that I don't have to be in this Maya world at all, do we want to be in Maya forever? Because Maya poses all kinds of things on us. So you have to get out of that Maya. As I told, illusion is not illusion as unreal. Illusion is not as real and independent as real. That is what we should understand very clearly. Practical world we can never escape. When we have taken a Janma, practical world is there, Maya has come. That is Maya. So we want to get out of that. We don't have to go through again another Garbhavasa, so many months, again born with no independence at all. We wouldn't know what is right and what is wrong. You have been just growing, and then you have got problems of growing up. Then you have problems of marriage, problems of being family, and then we get all this wisdom. So I want to get something at the middle age crisis, where crisis overpowers your quest to knowledge. It never ends. So when are we going to get out of that? That is what we have to think about. It's only solution, which is through Jnana.
This one is for Rabbi Brill. Does Judaism consider the concept of soul? Do you have something called a soul? And do you drive a difference of soul and body?
We certainly have an idea of soul. And certainly the soul is to try to merge with the divine and to achieve liberation from desire. But I can also throw a loop is technically Judaism has many concepts of soul, from the soul animating the body to the soul that gives you the certain spirituality and enthusiasm, to the cognitive soul, and then higher levels of soul. And then each one plays a slightly different role. I mean, in the fullest version, you get a chart of like 32 different souls, each one playing a very different role. But generally, when we say soul, we talk about the spiritual aspect, which is able to rise above the body. Sometimes starting with identifying with mind and your volition that's able to make the correct choice, to then moving up to the higher levels of the more spiritual stages, and then they start, depending on the system, giving it other names of different higher souls.
Thank you. This one is for Sri Thadapatri. It's a big topic, so if you could summarize in a minute, what is the concept of moksha according to Acharya Madhva?
It's a wonderful question. I was actually wondering all the time the topic that was given as moksha and karma, and the moksha definition was touched upon by Swamiji alone, and others have talked so much about all around moksha, but the moksha itself was not defined. So the main concept was not given a precise definition. Of course, they have given a lot of explanation. For example, what moksha means liberation. Liberation means liberation from what? It's a translation. It's not actually an answer, a definition. That's why Swamiji said, like, pramana, definition of a definition. Acharya start from there. So what is moksha? So for that, muktihi hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthitihi. What does that mean? That means what? See, for example, if you get a happiness from something else, there's a very possibility that the cause of happiness can go away. Unless the happiness comes from within, you will never be assured of its deprival. So, hitva, by giving up, anyatha rupam, what is not natural to that? Swarupena vyavasthitihi, its own inherent existence, the bliss that comes out of its own inherent existence. That is what is moksha. So we talked, okay, going to God. Suppose you go to God but you are still sad. Will you like to go to God? No. Teaching God alone is not the goal. We know that once we reach God, we will be given that inherent happiness. The inherent happiness has to manifest. For that we have to do the karma, and then for that the sharanagati was touched upon, and there also a misconception has crept in. For example, it was said, like, sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. If the superficial meaning is taken, then Krishna has lost his mind, Arjuna has lost his mind, because Krishna taught 18 chapters, and at the end he says, give up everything, just surrender to me. And Arjuna said, okay, I'll give the war, I'll just surrender to you, I don't go for the war. So Krishna's whole teaching has gone waste. He said, give up everything, that means give up war also, because that's your dharma, you give up that and just surrender to me. No. Anya dharman parityajya, whatever is not natural to you, give up only that. What you have to do, you got to do. It is not sarvadharman parityajya, but it's anya sarvadharman parityajya. You have to give up what is not your duty, that only you have to give up. So, if we, the religion, each religion is like a patti, is like a eye patch. If everybody wears an eye patch and walks around, we hit each other. We just bump into each other. What we have to do? We have to use common sense. That means the eye patches we have to remove. We have to open our minds and then step into the world. Then we can't stop others wearing the eye patches. What should I do? You remove your eye patches. At least you don't bump into others. So you remove eye patches. Use common sense. But my common sense is different from someone else's common sense. What should I do? No, then that is not common sense. The common sense, that means it's common to all. It will not differ from one to other. So God has given us intellect. Use that and question yourself. When you question yourself, you might be questioning other philosophies. Then that's fine. But don't question other philosophies for the sake of questioning other philosophies. Question yourself. That may result in questioning other philosophies. That will lead you into Brahmata Om Athato Brahma Jignasa Om. Brahma Jignasa starts from there. Try to learn about Brahman. So the moksha understanding, Sharanagati understanding, Brahman understanding, for all this, use common sense. God has given a lot of intellect to you. Think about it. Question, question, question. For example, Vedas, it's like Mahavakyas are there, but for us, Acharya Madhva said, Every Vakya is Mahavakya. One Mahavakya cannot head against another Mahavakya. So entire Veda literature has to be taken, it has to be understood in its proper context, everything has to be analyzed, and things have to be taken in its entirety. We cannot misinterpret ourselves for our own misunderstandings. We have to go on splitting things up and use your own analytical powers and delve deeper and deeper and deeper until you find answers that satisfy yourself. And as Sri Ignace said, you are responsible for your own actions. Unless you go deeper and analyze yourselves, whether moksha, karma, sharanagati, all other things, delve deeper and deeper and deeper until you find the answers. Thank you. Sorry for long.
Thank you. Just to be fair to all the speakers, Tadpatriji, I think, the topic was covered of moksha. In fact, Sri Ignace just spoke about it in his speech as well. Swamiji went a depth deeper yesterday because he covered 2 levels of moksha. One is day-to-day Vyavaharika life. And he gave the example of a bank account that you can draw, and then obviously the final liberation moksha as Krishna describes. So definitely he went deeper on that.
I only add one small point with what he presented. You can be analytical, you can use any amount of Tarkikas, they have been always using all kinds of arguments, but all of them cannot be, they should all be in accordance with the Vedic teaching. It can, because X may be a great scholar, Y may be a great scholar, but whatever he understood or presents is not in conformity with what is originally taught in the Vedas, because that is pramana, then that will be only an academic exercise. It may enable a person to think further, that's fine, nobody stops it, but any conclusion drawn cannot be viruddha to what is already taught in the scriptures.
Thank you. This one is for Srimati Miraji. You have 2 questions, 30 to 45 seconds each. First one, is there any reason why somebody cannot follow the path of Acharya or Adi Shankara or Bhagavad Ramanuja and attain moksha? That is the first question. And the second question is, in your own view, this is your own view, why do you believe there are restrictions on women in learning a lot of the scriptures?
Okay, the first question, why can't we take different paths, different roads, all roads lead to Rome, basically. That's the question. The answer is to reach the goal. If all roads lead to the same destination, then there is no problem. If the roads lead to different paths, totally different concepts, because to understand Veda, there is Brahma Sutras. The Brahma Sutra, they have established it. It says, yata yata upaste tadaiva bhavati. As you do the meditation or thinking, that's what you are going to get it. So it says, Satchit Ananda Atma. That's what the definition. Sat means it is devoid of any defect. And Ananda and Chit means the Jnana. Ananda, that's what we want. We want Jnana. Jnana, the knowledge. The right knowledge leads to bliss. So at that same time it says Atma. Atma means Swami. That is, there is God, there is a superior being and his servant. That's the concept they have given. So if you go in that path, then you will reach. So you have to decide on the path. Definitely you have to know your route. That's important. Marga is important to reach your goal. The second thing is about restriction. I don't know, I don't see any restriction for knowledge. Knowledge is important. How each one achieves the correct knowledge, yatartha jnana we say. How you achieve the knowledge, the methodology, there may be difference, there may be restriction, but as far as the correct knowledge is concerned, it's open to all. God doesn't discriminate between men, women, caste, creed, no discrimination. it's open to, knowledge is open to everybody. So I don't see any discrimination. For example, the Vedic knowledge is given in many different forms, the meanings and everything. You can study that with the help of a guru. That's what the role of a guru becomes very important. And it is open to all. There is no restriction. I don't see any restriction. In the methodology, maybe there will be some.
Very well said. If any person who asks the question should feel that she is superior to the men folk, so it is the superior half. So if any, you have more knowledge and you have more power to earn that knowledge than all the men folk standing here. Thank you, Viraji. Okay, the next question is for Father Reddington. What's your definition of refuge? Refuge. How can one surrender to Jesus?
A broad definition of refuge, and that is perhaps surrender would be the best single word equivalent for refuge. To surrender, in other words, one's own life, and as St. Ignatius put in his prayer, memory, understanding, will, all that I am and possess, surrender of all of that to God. That is to say, to think for and work for and live for all that God wills and has taught, and therefore to reach the goal that God wishes me to reach. That's what occurs to me right off as the most clear meaning of refuge within a Christian tradition.
I guess the question went a bit deeper. How does, maybe you can keep this brief, how does one surrender?
How does one surrender? Well, again, within Christianity, for example, there would be many specific methods or small paths, let us say, by which to surrender along the path of Jesus Christ leading to God. So that the one that I spoke of within the mind and teaching of my master, you could say, well, Jesus is my master, but my sub-master is St. Ignatius Loyola, as I said, so that that path that members of the Society of Jesus immediately following St. Ignatius Loyola would follow. Otherwise, Franciscans would follow the path of St. Francis, the wonderful saint, after whom the present Pope named himself. It's interesting, he did not take the name Pope Ignatius, even though this present Pope is, like myself, a Jesuit, but he took the name Francis, which had never been used before by a Pope. I don't think Ignatius was either, but at any rate, he took the name of Francis. So there are many also, like Jesuits, but different, there are many Franciscans who follow the path of poverty and great love of God, and of nature and of animals and so forth, that St. Francis of Assisi followed. And those who follow St. Benedict, the monks who are of the Benedictine order, and the sisters who are of the Benedictine order, again, would emphasize certain other bhavas, let us say, certain other emotions and moods in their path of following Jesus. All would follow Jesus, but within certain more dominant moods or bhavas. All of them would be going on Christian subpaths, let us say, to the great path, let us say, the largest path of Christianity, along with, let us say, in terms of Protestant Christian paths, the path of Martin Luther. Martin Luther started a path under Jesus and very much influenced by St. Paul and St. Augustine that is followed by the Lutherans especially. Well, anyway, as you know, there are many divisions within Christianity, but all of those divisions follow Jesus. They propose to follow Jesus most of all.
Thank you, Father. This one is for Swamiji. How does one surrender to Krishna? How do you surrender to Krishna?
Trying to give up worldly pleasure and attachment, and considering Krishna is one and everything, and dedicating our all energy and actions to please Krishna. That is the mode of surrender.
Thank you. This one is for Rabbi Brill. Following and piggybacking on question to Srimati Meeraji, what are the restrictions for women in Judaism? 30 seconds, please.
Okay. The restrictions for Judaism, it depends what denomination. The Reform Judaism, there are no restrictions anymore, and that's what makes them Reform. Within Orthodoxy, it's working trying to work within the limits. Orthodoxy, in my world, has taken away all restrictions on method of women learning, and that's the real issue right now of women learning and what women getting the same education that men do. And the restrictions only then become on the level of the actual running the service, even though the knowledge becomes the same.
Thank you. This one is for Mani Mama. When Vyavaharika life for the real world is dual, why would the ultimate or the absolute world become non-dual?
Yeah, Vyavaharika world is driven by these effects of karma. That is why we take a janma, so many plants and all. They all have taken janma because of all that. But the Paramarthika Satyam is beyond karma. It has no influence, karma has no influence on that, because it is supposed to be akarta abhokta. That is Paramarthika Brahman. Satya Chaitanya is that. So we all people, they go through karma, they go through all this bondage, they go through all that. So they take birth again and again and again. But ultimate reality is one. It is not something that a person cannot ultimately reach. One can gain knowledge to reach that. Knowledge alone is needed. One does not take any Pushpaka Vimanam or something to go there. Wherever you are, one can gain that knowledge. So it is only gaining knowledge wherever you are. So we need to gain that knowledge if you want to escape the cycle of birth. But if I am saying, oh, life is hanky-dory, so nice, I would like to be born again, no problem, fine, be born, no problem. There is no restriction on that. But if a person really wants, how long I am going to go through this? Even for Devas, this is not only to human beings, understand? Devas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, everybody, if they have to escape this cycle, only Jnana is the only thing. It is available to them. Devas also have to long to gain that. When Devas themselves, they are supposed to be living in luxurious life all the time. When they themselves long to gain self-knowledge and reach moksha, how about us? So that opportunity is available to humans. Actually, scriptures say it is easy for humans to gain knowledge and gain moksha than even Devas, because Devas are so overwhelmed with all the comforts they have. There is no thirst, there is no hunger, all the time only enjoyment, all the time only ananda, all the time. So we have to escape this. That is the reason when we have to know the Paramarthikam Satyam. If somebody is happy with the Vyavaharika plane, no problem at all. They can continue to be like that, no problem at all. It is that choice.
A continuation for that. How would you say that identity is maintained through subsequent births?
Identity what?
Identity of the individual, identity of the soul, how is that maintained in subsequent birth? Is there something called identity? That's really the question.
Identity is defined by your vasanas only. Whatever vasanas a person has gained as a result of the karma, that alone is the signature for them to gain whatever birth they are going to gain. It is driven by your own karma phala. That is all fact.
Thank you. We'll pass on to Rabbi Brill, and I'll chime in as well, Rabbi, when you answer this question, because this takes the Islamic view a little bit. What is the concept of moksha in Islam?
Am I supposed to answer that one?
Whatever you can around that. Can you answer that?
It's not really enough for me to.
Okay. Well, let me.
I represent myself, but I can't.
Let me chime. Yeah. Surrender is one. Let me chime in a little bit here, and I think I was briefly mentioning this morning on that concept. In Surah 99, Surah is a word for a chapter in the Quran. Chapter 99 and 100 and chapter 11 actually talks about the concept of surrender and freedom. And the way it talks about it is more meant for the current life. And there is a concept, particularly in chapter 11, that talks about two deaths and two lives. So there is a confusion in Islam saying, does a human being get two deaths and two lives? But actually what Islam meant by that, again, this is a forum where we talk about differences but also talk about the good things. What Islam really meant by that is an individual gets in his current life a chance of redemption. So if you make mistakes, God gives you a chance of redemption where you can fix your problems and then again get closer to Him. That is what the chapter 11 definition of redemption there means, of two deaths and two lives. And the other definition of moksha there is you have only one life, and what happens is when you surrender to the Supreme, in that case, after death, you go into the paradise, or as they say, you go to Jannat or Jahannam, so the paradise or hell. That decides what happens after that.
They have defined what's called a judgment day. In judgment day, based upon the actions, they give the judgment, and they're sent to Jannat. Islam, they call it Jannat, that's the heaven. So if they did the good deeds and they followed the Prophet Muhammad and Allah, then they are sent to Jannat. That's their moksha, based on the actions of one Janma. They believe only one life. The only reincarnation is called when they are resurrected. The resurrection is the only reincarnation they believe in, and that's when the judgment is given only on judgment day, and based on the actions they are sent to Jannat. That is their moksha.
We have 3 more questions. We have time for 3 more here, and I have actually 6 here, but I'll pick 3 of them because we want Swamiji also to give his Ashirvachana and summary after that. But if you have any very specific personal questions, I would welcome you to see if one of the panelists is available after the event is over and ask them that. But as far as this forum goes, we'll have 3 more. The first one, Father Eddington, in Christianity, are all born equal? Is everyone born equal at birth?
Equality, of course, has many different kinds. And so, are all born equally in every way? Certainly not. Certainly not all are born equally in every way. But in respect of, now this is, let us say, according to Catholic teaching, Orthodox Christian teaching, and several of the Protestant churches, though not all, believe that, as St. Paul says in his first letter to Timothy, that God wills that all people be saved and come to the knowledge of the truth. And so, in that respect, Christians believe that souls are born equally in respect of the possibility of being saved by God with the help of their own actions, also, but especially being saved by God. All persons are equal in that respect. The other kinds of Christians that I left out of that large generality, I would say probably majority belief, that all are equal in that God wills the salvation of all, are those who have a strong belief of the Protestant reformers. John Calvin is the most famous for emphasizing this belief to a large extent, and that is predestinarian belief, or a belief that God predestines some to be saved and some to not be saved, to go to hell, presumably. That, as you can imagine, is a teaching of great argument and difference of opinion among Christians or what have you. But at any rate, what I would say is the most important definition of equality, that is God wishing all to be saved. You could say that Christianity believes that all souls are equal in that respect. But with respect to human action, human birth, where humans are and everything like that, as you know, there are all sorts of equalities. All sorts of inequalities. But there is that one extremely important equality.
Okay. Last two questions. This one is for Sri Agnes Subrahmanyam, and then the last question would be for Swamiji. So, Mama, the question for you is, on a daily basis, we kill thousands of different species. It could be a plant. When I'm walking, I'm killing ants. When I build a house, I kill birds or take away their nests. How do you justify all of this killing?
We don't justify any killing, period. Because there are two types of dharmas. One is called Samanya Dharma, another is Vishesha Dharma. Samanya Dharma is common for everyone, regardless of who the person is. Ahimsa is Samanya Dharma. Satyam is Samanya Dharma. Everybody has to maintain truthful and everybody has to follow Ahimsa. So killing of any kind is not acceptable. So there is no allowance to that. Okay. Now we are building houses, we are destroying all that. It's not correct. Because it's not allowed as a concept in Ahimsa, we should not. But people, for lavish reasons, to exhibit, scriptures say all this. In scriptures there's a shloka. People want to build big houses. For that, what they do, they want to bring high-class trees from all around the world. They come and build houses with that. And they put lot of upavoga vastus, so many nice entertainment systems and all in that. All these things are causing some kind of harm or pain to something else, which is considered papa, is sinful. One should not do it. But people still engage in doing that. But for that, if it is to be done necessarily, because Jivanam is the rule. One jiva lives based on another jiva only, that is how the niyati is, generally. So when something has to be done, because there is no other choice, no other way, then there are prayers. For example, if you have to cut a tree, then the axe with which you cut the tree, there is a prayer to the axe. Then the tree which is cut, there is a prayer to the tree. Oh tree, I am cutting you now. I don't want to unnecessarily make this sin at all, but there is no other choice, I have to do it. So as far as everything is a devata, even my desire is a devata, my anger is a devata. So when all these things, I pray to that devata and ask for his forgiveness and then go ahead. So anything done lavishly, luxuriously is sinful. But anything done for a necessity, there is all, even though certain harms are done to some other species, there is always a prayer. So that doesn't mean an allowance is given for somebody to kill some other species for their personal motives.
Would you then consider walking while I walk and I kill ants and other insects?
Many of them can be considered, that is why even for sannyasis and our Swamijis here, so during Chaturmasya, when the rainy season and all there, they are not even walking anywhere. They want to be in their Sankalpa itself, they say, I won't cause any harm to anybody, I am here, be fearless of me, there is no harm caused to anyone because of my presence. Even for all the insects and jantus, by their walking, they may step on maybe a earthworm or something, they don't even move around. At that time they stay back. But because of various pravrittis, various jobs and all, when people have to, when you go in the car, a deer may jump into it, you may kill it. So these are all things that happen because of our day-to-day life. Some such things might happen which are unintentional, about which you pray. There is prayaschitta for all of them prayed every day during so many other karmas that we are all doing. So if you continue to do that, without your knowledge something has happened for which you are not responsible, you cannot help it, but you pray for that, for all those things. Be appreciative of that. When we have, when for the entire Srishti, if you have that, kind of a liking and that priyam, then it won't bother you as such. One should be always careful not to cause any harm, even unintentionally, to somebody as much as possible.
Thank you. The last question is for Swamiji. Swamiji, why should we believe the Vedas? Why should we believe, and how can you assure us that they are without fault?
For belief, we should not say any reason, because whatever fact, we should believe. Vedas are telling facts, that is why we are believing. So not only Vedas, but from where we get the facts, we should believe. And the message which was given by Vedas, it is time tested, and it has shown the fruit, so that we should believe. Not only Veda, why should we believe that person? Why should we believe this person? Because once we test, then we can believe. So it is said, the message of Veda are tested, and it is truth, that is why we should believe.
Very well, sir. Thank you. So you heard a lot, hopefully in the last hour and a half, in the day and a half. As Swamiji finally said, which I think was very well put, your experience is what counts. So if the experience speaks that yes, there are facts being demonstrated, you believe it. So it's also the experiential aspect of it that counts, and that was really the intent of this GnaanaSamgama, that the seed of that was laid by Sri Swamiji when he wanted to do this, is to educate, create awareness among the community of different faiths, philosophies, and you take it back with you. You live that life, and then you make the decision and judgment. As we said this morning when he was at Rutgers, he gave that similar comment, which is, you cannot prevent anybody from sharing their views. At the end of the day, the judgment is yours. You can make that. Now we will have Yogendraji say a couple of words. We'll have Swamiji give his Ashirvachana and summary, and then we'll also request Swamiji to honor all the speakers on the stage.
पूर्वेऽपि कर्तमपराशरपाण्डुमुख्याः यत्सेवया गुणगणाढ्यमपत्यमापुः तं पूर्णसद्गुणतलं करुणामताब्धिं नारायणं कुलपतिं शरणं भजेम. निर्मत्थ उग्रपवार्णवे निर्मनोपीष्टं दिशामीति यः सम्यक् ज्ञापयितुं करेण वरसन्मन्तानं मन्येन च रम्यं दामदतन्महेशरजतग्रामश्रियोरकृतिः कर्मन्दीश्वरभक्तिबन्धनवशः प्रीतोऽस्तु कृष्णप्रभुः व्यासाय भवनाशाय श्रीशाय गुणराशये हृद्याय शुद्धविद्याय मध्वाय च नमो नमः बुद्धिर्बलं यशोधैर्यं निर्भयत्वम् अरोगता पदाढ्यं वाक्पटुत्वं च हनुमस्मरणात् भवेत् पूज्याय राघवेन्द्राय सत्यधर्मरताय च भजतां कल्पवृक्षाय नमतां कामधेनवे आपादमौलिपर्यन्तं गुरूणाम् आकृतिं स्मरेत् तेन विघ्नाः प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति च मनोरथाः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. We are very glad to conclude GnaanaSamgama program in the auspicious period of Pratishtha Mahotsava. We did the Pratishtha of Lord Krishna day before yesterday, but through GnaanaSamgama we did the Pratishtha of Jnanamaya Krishna today. Krishna, we say, is Chinmaya. He is not only in the form of stone, he is in the form of Jnana. That is why Nahi Jnanena Sadrusham Pavitrani Hamiti. Manimama said, all karmas will be burned down by Jnana. Jnana is Sarva Karmani Vaspasad Puruntyati. So we had the Pratishtha of Jnana of Lord Krishna. That is why this is the part of Pratishtha Mahotsava. GnaanaSamgama is the celebration of Pratishtha Mahotsava. It is not a separate program, but is nothing but Pratishtha of Lord Krishna. That is why I am very glad to offer this Pratishtha, Chinma Jnana Pratishtha to Lord Sri Krishna. The end of the Krishna, he says, Jnani Priyato Motami. He doesn't like any other thing but that Jnana. That is why I wanted to offer Jnana Pushpam to Lord Krishna. That is why I dreamt this kind of program last 2 years back. So this is very useful for people who are craving to get the knowledge. What happens all the time, we are discussing our own judgment, but we are not into look to other branches. Judgment should be given after hearing every person. In the court, the judge is not going to give the judgment without finishing the hearing. So he should hear, though he know the truth or fact, but it is his duty to hear from every person. Though we know the person who is murdering in front of us, we cannot give the sentence to death on spot. But he should be taken into the court, and we should have all kinds of inquiry. Then in the end of that, only we can give the judgment. The same thing should be followed in the path of moksha. So all of us, we are interested to get the moksha. So before starting the journey, we should finalize the address. So address is not finalized. Without finalizing the address, destination, if you start, you will be end up with somewhere. That is why this session is very important. Who are willing to get the moksha, they should decide what kind of moksha, where should they go, and after finalizing only they can start their journey. In that view, we wanted to have this kind of program, and where we can have the debate, and where we can have the guidance and where we can have the informations about the moksha. That is the message of Lord Krishna. Yesterday I told Krishna is holding churning rod. What means churning rod? Churning rod means GnaanaSamgama program. So he says all the time you churn and churn, then only you get the amritam. That is why always he is holding, showing the churning rod. Don't forget churning rod. You should churn all the time, then only you should get the buttermilk. That is why we are offering the churning program to Lord Krishna today. And today I feel we got all kinds of ideas. Yesterday I have given Vaita idea, and today Mahesh has given the Ramanujan Chishtatvaita, and Manimam has given the idea of Advaita. And we had the idea of Christianity and Hinduism. So this is what we think, this is Panchabhaksha Paramana. So to Lord Krishna, we are offering different kind of sweets. So we are offering different kind of philosophies, Jnana Pushpa, Jnana Bhaksha. So then he will be pleased. Why should we offer different kind of sweets to Lord Krishna? Because the people, they have a different taste. So whoever will want to have that kind of sweet, let them have. That is why we organized this Panchabhaksha Paramana in connection with the Pratishtha Mahotsav to Lord Sri Krishna. And I am very glad to say this is like Swayamvara. So in Swayamvara, so everyone is present, and whomever we want to put the garland, he can put the garland. So our duty is preparing everyone ready. And the girl should come and select the boy. That is his duty. So our duty is we prepared everything here and we present just like a buffet. So each one is bringing different sweets from their house, and we have 5 vessels here, and we present 5 vessels. And whatever you want, you can take that sweet and enjoy. So this is the very unique program where we are thinking that this is the way of thinking and way of debating. It should be there. Without a debate, if we just listening one-way traffic, then it will not give the clear idea and it will not help us to continue. That is why all the time we should keep our mind open for any kind of thinking. That is why many people, they ask me, you are Dvaita, Dvaitadipati, you are Madhva, why you are presenting other views? Only you should present Madhva views. You should be represented by Dvaita philosophy only. Why you are presenting all other philosophies? It is not your duty, but I told that my duty is Krishna's message. Krishna told that Vimarshaita Dasheshena Yatechasi Pratha. My duty is not imposing any philosophy, but my duty is giving the facilities for the seekers, for the thinkers. That is my duty. That is why I can present many philosophy, and the final judgment is given to all individuals. Let them take whatever. Some people they may like Mysore pak, some people they like the kara, some people they like the other sweets. It is up to them. You cannot impose. Only you should eat Mysore pak. Don't eat any other sweet. It is up to the individual. So that we have presented all kinds of sweets here, and it is your duty to take as much you want and use that. Our intention is only enjoy the philosophy. That is our intention. In that way, we have presented this program here. This is the second time, and I'm thinking in India also we should have this kind of program, and we want to. In India happened. All people they are thinking only their philosophy. They are not seeking to any other philosophy. So my philosophy is each one should see all philosophies. Then he should judge. So this kind of program should be in India also. That is my desire. So I'm very glad to get the good response for this program. And if 100 people are present here, that means 10,000 people are here. Because all people, they are very much eager and they came to attend this program with quest. That is why I'm valuing your presence here. I'm very glad to have all of you who are seekers here to be benefited by this program. And once again, I congratulate all the seekers here and also who prepared the sweet, who presented the sweet. I congratulate all of them here today. I am very glad to have our father here and Rabbi here. And many times we have the world conferences. I attended nearly 15 world conferences. But we discuss only for peace, world peace. We don't discuss about the philosophies. All Muslims, Christians and Hindu, all of us we gather and just to think about which country is spoiling peace. All these things we discuss. We don't discuss how to get the moksha. We don't think. But this conference is thinking about how to get the moksha. What is the way? That is why I think that this kind of conference is most useful for the people. That's why I'm very glad to have all of you here. Our Mani Mama, he is attracting by his words. Every verse she presented the PowerPoint, how to go to moksha from beginning to end. He has presented in a good way. I was feeling that now I am on the way to moksha. Like that, she was presenting all kinds of points. So I am very glad. And Taravatri, he's also presenting a good way with the pramana. Yeah, every step he is giving the pramana. And there was a question that women, they are not having the representation of these things, but we have given the representation for the women. I see that nowhere this kind of presentation is given to women. So that is my gut feeling that we should give the representation for women. Then only spirituality will go and do it. That is why. And here she has also replied the good question. For knowledge, no restriction at all. For getting the knowledge, no restriction at all. It's only the difference in modes, not for the fruit. So everyone should get the fruit, but the way may be different, but not restricted for the fruit. That is the very much truth. So I am very glad to have the representation of women here as Tadapatri here. So I always show we may see the husband may be the philosopher and wife may not be the philosopher. Sometimes wife may be the philosopher, but husband may be the businessman. But here we can see both of them, they are not only husband and wife, they are Guru and Shishya. So that I am very glad to notice that this is the example for all couples. So be like Tarapatri family, all congratulating them. I am very glad to have this session to conclude, and we have taken most of the time so that we want to conclude this program now only. And I am giving another point. Now this is only the beginning, so it's not the end. We are not in moksha now. We are just discussing that whether we should go to moksha or not. So there are a long way to go. So that we should have several sessions like this. Then only our effort is fruitful. So we have many questions, unanswered questions, untouched questions are there. We should go through that also. The main question I can say that we can explain how we are going to moksha or everything, but why this difference has come? What is the reason in the beginning? Why everyone is different? What is the reason? This is the fundamental question. From where that difference started and for what the difference started. So we should find out the answer for that. Like that, many questions, that big questions are there. Not only the answer, but we should practice. We should feel the answer. That kind of answer we should find out. For that, we should have more sessions like this. Then only our journey will be fruitful. In that, I am inviting all of you coming GnaanaSamgama programs also. Next time also, when we have that program, all of you should join. Otherwise, your journey will be cut. So you should continue this GnaanaSamgama program if you are willing to have the moksha. That is why I am inviting all of you for further GnaanaSamgama programs also. So I am very glad to have all of you here today. I very much appreciate the effort of Mahesh Rao because he is a very capable person. I was thinking that if I am going to have this kind of program in India, I should invite Mahesh to conduct that program. Otherwise, it may not be successful. That is why I am very glad to have as a MC. He can manage every person and every views, and he led this program successful. So I am congratulating him also, and I am asking Krishna to bless Ananda.
As Swamiji mentioned, Krishna will be pleased when we offer Jnana Pushpam to him. We try our best to please him with many activities, ceremonies, and doing Pradakshina, Namaskara, Nevedya. But Krishna says, Tesham Jnani Nitya Yuktaha Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate. So Jnana Pushpa is the most favorite to Lord Sri Krishna. So instead of just doing all the Pradakshina, Namaskara, Tirtha Prasada, so we cannot conclude our sadhana. So as Swamiji's suggestion, let us continue our Jnana Seva to please Lord Sri Krishna. Now this is the time to offer our sincere thanks to all the scholars and also Swamiji. And another thing, let us try our best to continue this GnaanaSamgama. And also especially we have to include more youngsters, because kids are rising here. They have no clue about our religion, philosophy. They don't know the meaning of all the rituals, nothing. So that is our responsibility. Let us include them also. Let us answer their questions, because rarely we get this opportunity where all scholars are here together. So next time, let us plan to include all the youngsters. So now this is the time to honor all the scholars. I request all of you to stand, show our respect, because they are all favorite to Lord Sri Krishna.
Just two things. Did not mean to interrupt Sri Yogendraji, but Swamiji mentioned about Keshavra and Meeraji. One thing that we all should learn from both of them is humility. Their humbleness with all the knowledge is unbelievable. So, my respects to both of you for that. And the second thing is, I do want us, I'm glad you all stood up, I do want us to give a real rousing appreciation to the soul behind this mission, Swamiji, and the speakers. And then to the person who continues to nurture this all the time, put the efforts to keep Swamiji's mission going, Sri Yogendraji. Now we can honor, yes. First, we would request Swamiji to honor Father Eddington. It's an appreciation from Swamiji on behalf of Krishna Vrindavana. Quite brilliant. Srimati Meera Tadipatri and Keshavrao Tadipatri. Sri GnaanaSamgama Mama.
Now we are proceeding to the temple puja hall. Swamiji will be performing the Mangalarati. And in another few minutes, Mangalarati will be done, then the Mahaprasada. Evening, so we have special Sangeeta Seva music program starts at around 4:30, sharp 4:30 actually. Sharp 4:30. So there are two concerts and also a dance program, Bharatanatyam. And evening we have the continued Bhagavata Saptaha by Dr. Padma Shri Bandanja Govindacharya, followed by evening Utsava Ashtavadhana Seva to Lord Shri Krishna. So now I request all of us to proceed to the puja hall. And also there is the Bhagavad Gita Parayana by small kids who memorized entire 18 chapters, all 700 slokas. They will be offering Bhagavad Gita to Lord Shri Krishna. Starts at 2:30. 2:32. It will be going on till the 80th chapter. Krishna Arpanamastu.
Om Shanti Shanti.